Hello and welcome to the Everybody Dice podcast. We're on episode number 37 and we're going to be talking about board gaming and anything else that you can play on a tabletop too. I am Steve and today I am joined by...
Ian.
And we have no Daryl today. I think he's back on the moon maybe? Or was he always on the moon when he was with us? I kind
I,
of
I think
loosely...
I think he commutes
Okay.
from the moon. That's my theory. I'm just not sure. Like, he wouldn't want to walk his dog on the moon.
No, I imagine
So he
not.
must
That
come
could
back
get...
here frequently enough to walk the dog.
Yeah, yeah. Man, just I feel like there should have been some backstory as to why he couldn't be here, but
I mean,
I
yeah,
can't.
maybe we should have prepared in some way for this podcast and then
It would have been far more entertaining, but obviously entertainment isn't our forte, so
no,
which is
you're
great for
not.
a podcast.
If you're listening, you're not here to be entertained. You are here to listen to some facts and opinions. They're kind of spliced together, but you take them all as facts.
Yes, of course, because we 100% know what we're talking about.
You're, we
If we're not entertaining, we are certainly well informed.
oh no! Oh no! We're neither of those things.
Why are we doing this? God.
Ugh.
Okay. A couple of things of what's been going on in the website since the last podcast. We've had one video go up live on the website, and that was the second part of our RPG feature, which the first one kind of covered a lot more well-known RPGs, such as Pathfinder and Shadowrun, a few RPG books like that. This one covered more the kind of things that I've picked up on Kickstarter, and I mentioned the Apocalypse engine and things like that in there. So both of those videos are available. By all means, check them out. They will be on the channel. Yeah, apart from that, we've obviously had our vote for our chosen subject of this podcast, and it is, if you couldn't know by the title in the description already, would you play board games competitively for money? But more on that later. How are you doing, Ian?
Yeah, I'm right.
You all right?
I'm coping. I'm back at work full time, so yeah.
Yeah, same here as well. Yeah, it's certainly this is going to be a challenging period, but
I'm definitely ready for my next 7 weeks off.
oh god, yeah. I mean, things surely are going to close down again.
I don't think they will. I think at this point it's gonna plateau. It
Do you,
won't.
do you not think that they've done this to save them a bit of money before September, where we could potentially go into lockdown again, and they only have to pay 60% on furlough?
I don't think that is what will happen. I
No.
don't think we'll go back into furlough mode.
No, not like what Germany, Korea, China. I think have all gone into second lockdown now. I think.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I mean,
Yeah, a few
I,
countries
I
have.
feel like if we'd voted in a government that cared about people's welfare, we probably would.
Yeah,
But
I mean
we
we're
don't have a government that cares about people's welfare, so
we're
let's
still
all go on
dangerously
trips to
close to
Durham.
that.
I mean,
Oh
who
god,
cares, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're still dangerously close to that R number, that one where every person who gets it infects one other person, so it becomes exponential.
Yeah,
We're still dangerously close to that in this country. I know things are
we're
getting better,
pretty
like the
much at
number
it.
of infections. Yeah, the number of infections and deaths are going down, but obviously we've only just come out of lockdown, so that's kind of expected. It will be in the next couple of weeks where we'll see whether this was a good decision or not, I suppose. But
Mm.
hey, pubs are opening on the 4th of July, as are hairdressers and all things like that, so it's almost back to full functionality, I
Oh,
think,
you haven't
soon.
seen my hair in so long, have you? It's not good.
I have not.
It is.
I
It
have
is.
not.
So I did the sides and the back, and I had
Oh,
sort of
okay.
like a faux hawk for a while,
Oh, that's cool.
which looked all right
Yeah.
because it was at the right length. However, now the sides have grown out over my ears slightly, and the top is
Yeah.
like a bit too tall. So like now
Right.
the gel doesn't hold it, or like the wax doesn't hold it in any sort of relevant shape. It kind of just sort of Johnny Bravo-esque. It's
Perfect.
it's not good. It's not good at
Uh,
all. And like I'm considering doing the sides again.
Yeah.
but then the top will just look even taller, and I'll end up with this really long furry head.
Oh man, I wish I could have a long furry head, but
Yeah, I've
I'm
just realised
afflicted by
those probably of the
the old
people on this
baldness.
podcast, I shouldn't be whining about my hair being too big.
Hey, at least mine's been easy to maintain, I suppose. So,
Daryl's
oh,
hairline is retreating so hard, it's going through the Maginot Line and straight back to Berlin. It's crazy.
I've just received word that Daryl may join us in a bit, just for a real quick kind of cool. Um, we'll see. We'll see how his communication lines from the moon are actually doing at the moment, but we'll leave that till a bit later, I think. Um, so, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing?
Well, I can start things off.
Yeah.
I've been playing, again, everything that I've been playing board game wise has been digitally, so it's all been over the computer. Mostly just playing on my own, which is really cool because there is a free game on Steam that is a board game. It's called Onirim.
Okay.
Like I say, have to. You don't actually have to. Oh god, I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry. So the way the game plays is it's kind of like you're meant to be lost in a maze,
Okay.
and you're trying to make your way out of it. You're doing this through basically a card game. So the idea is there are four different colors. I think it's red, green, blue, and brown,
Right.
and you have a hand of cards that has a number of cards, all of those colors, and they all have symbols as well. The symbols being a sun, a moon, or a key. The idea is you play three cards of one single color, and one of two doors of that color opens up. So, in other words, you've got eight doors in total to unlock. Like I said, two for each color. So, in other words, over the course of the game, you'd have to play six cards in total of one color in order to unlock a door, though there's other ways of unlocking the doors as well. The caveat is that you can't play a card directly after playing a card of a certain symbol with the same symbol. And the cards all have varying degrees of how rare they are in terms of when they come out into your hand, because you have a hand of five cards and you keep drawing off the deck. So there are more sun cards than moon cards, and there's only a few key cards in the game. So the key cards have a few special abilities that allow you to do other things, because one of the things that can happen is you can have a nightmare. There are, I want to say, 8 nightmare cards in the deck, and when they get drawn, your options are to either discard one of your doors that you've already unlocked, discard a key card that you have in your hand, discard the current hand that you have, or discard 5 cards off of the deck. So you've got a few things you can do. You can keep a key card in your hand tactically, just in case you draw a nightmare card, so you only have to lose one card. Because as soon as the decks run out, that's it. If you haven't unlocked all 8 doors, you're lost. This means that you also have to think quite carefully about what cards you're going to play. So, in other words, let's say you've played 2 green cards. You've played 1 green moon card, followed by 1 green sun card. And then all of the other cards in your hand that are green are all sun cards. You may want to, say, play a moon card of red to basically say that, okay, I'm giving up on opening that green door. I'm going to use the red as a way of resetting it so that I can start using sun cards again. It's a really interesting puzzle. Like I say, it's completely free on Steam. So I'd very much recommend playing that. It is a purposefully made solo game as well, so there's no multiplayer version of the game. There are a few downloadable bits that you can download to put onto to like give you a few extra features to the game, but I have not tried them. But they are pay ones. Although one of them, I think, if you register to Asmodee's website, I think one of them you get for free. I think. But I'd honestly recommend it. It's a game that everyone checks out because you've got nothing to lose. It's free, as long as your computer can handle it, which if mine can,
Is it
most people
particularly
should be able to.
intensive? Doesn't sound particularly intensive.
No, it's not intensive, but there's a lot of decision making to be made in it because uh, it's very easy to run out of cards in the deck and lose the game. I would say I probably win one in every two games of it, probably. No, sorry, one in every three, I would probably say. Because sometimes the cards just don't fall right for you. The key cards are quite important because you can discard a key card to look at the next five cards in the deck. You can choose to discard one of those cards, and then you can rearrange the four that you're keeping in any order and place them back on the deck. So key cards can be used as kind of a way of controlling that, but also the door cards, because there are door cards actually shuffled into the deck as well. If you draw one of them and you have the corresponding color as a key in your hand as well, you just automatically open that door. So the key cards are pretty much your way of improving your chances, and when you use them is particularly vital. I mean, I've seen Z Garcia on the Dice Tower rave about this game before. It's really good, really, really good. I think there's most single player games that are out there tend to be kind of narrative driven experiences, and it's nice to see a puzzly style single game actually that works as well and works really well out there. Like I say, I would really recommend people check it out. That is Onirim.
How's it spelled?
Onirim. But yeah, it's a very good game. Ian, I believe you have been doing some Call of Cthulhu RPGing.
Yes, we play Call of Cthulhu, and this was the what's the train one called?
Something on the Orient
Oh
Express?
yeah,
Murder?
Horror on the Orient Express one.
Horror. Okay.
Um, we've been in Paris. We've met some extra characters now, so there's been extra people added to the game. So we have a Romanian gypsy,
Okay.
played by Derry, who sounds a lot like Watto from Star Wars.
Okay.
Um, who else have we got? We've got Chloe's character, who I don't actually know the name off the top of my head, but she's like I think she's sort of like a posh woman who hunts
Okay.
artifacts by the sounds of things. Cinny's character has come in, and he's a very strange Irishman. I'm really, honestly not sure what to expect or believe.
Yeah.
He looks really odd. We've got like pictures of some of them, and he's got like one eye bigger than the other. It's really weird looking.
Okay.
But in this, like quick recap in this campaign, Daryl is playing a posh Englishman. I am playing a German baron who used to be a fighter pilot, and Ree and Andy are playing the rudest French people you'll ever meet. So we're in Paris looking for like clues of like this mystical statue, which seems to have granted someone immortality. We think.
Okay.
So the party has split. Some of them have visited who they think is this immortal person in a French madhouse, basically in a is it sanatorium or something like that?
Sanatorium.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that's
Um,
kind of like the place where people usually go for mental health issues or health
yeah.
issues where you have to be kept away from everyone else. I believe
What we
it's something like
figured
that.
is that basically this guy has been in this sanatorium for ages, and they just
Yeah.
torture him. So I think we think he's been there for forever and ever and ever, and
So he's a bit of a Rasputin type of character,
we think so.
almost.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure. We're still quite early into the campaign, and we found a part of the statue. The other group found another part of the statue that we think is keeping him forever alive,
Okay.
immortal. But we found it under this family's house, and we had to sort of convince them that we want to do some digging there. Thankfully, our German is the most charismatic man on earth.
He seems to be like the guy that's really pulling
He is
the guys through this campaign, right?
100% not in charge of anything, but absolutely the MVP. Like he walks into a room, loudly talks in this German accent, rolls a dice, and passes almost. The only thing he hasn't passed is sanity checks. Every
Okay.
other dice roll he's passed.
So is that
So
to say that he's slowly going insane?
well, yeah. So the idea behind the character is that he's a German World War One fighter pilot, but he was
Right.
like a Baron von Richthofen style German fighter pilot, and he never really saw any death from up in the sky. So he never really was affected by the war sanity-wise. But he's recently been introduced to the concept of death by this campaign, and he didn't like it. And he didn't like it so much that he took a day out to get a massage and some French baths. So um, he's an interesting bloke.
A man of luxury.
I
Very
hired a
much.
random Frenchman to do some work for us. He is unbelievably rich because he's a baron, or
Yeah.
he had a barony and was paid off by the British government and now lives in the UK. But he is the richest character in the party, and like doesn't understand that it's a difference. So he walks in and pays everyone way too much for everything. But he met this little family. He befriended a little girl because
Yeah.
he has a childlike mentality, and I guess that sort of suits him. He bought her a ball in a cup.
Okay.
Just
What time period is it again that this is kind
no,
of
it's
based around?
1920s.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
So we went into the basement of this family's house after eating all their sausages and buying a little girl a ball in the cup.
Yeah.
Uh, we found like the arm of the statue, which Chloe's character has picked up, and her arm is slowly dying. We think. Well, she
Oh,
thinks.
okay.
We don't know. She's kept it to herself, so but it's still interesting. We
Yeah.
took the arm. We found lots of corpses, well, skeletons of like looks like a sort of torture glory hole, where like
Uh,
peepholes
okay.
of watching people getting tortured in cages and stuff, and comfy sofas like in front of Iron Maidens and things like that. It's a bit weird. Um, but it comes back to this immortal guy who seemed to like watching people getting tortured
Hmm.
and things like that. But we're still coming to the end of this. Team Andy and Daryl, um, the Anglo-French Union,
Yeah.
went to the sanatorium and spent most of their time torturing this guy. So,
What?
well, they were trying to, because he's in a coma. They were trying to wake him out of a coma.
But by torturing him?
Well, because they've said that the sanatorium said they were using the electrotherapy to get him out of the coma,
Okay.
which is basically just putting electricity through him. It's just torture.
Yeah.
It's electric
Yeah, yeah,
chair
yeah.
torture, basically. And
And
yeah,
they just basically just sat back and went, yeah, 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 go ahead.
they just kept doing it. He
Jesus
never came out of
Christ.
the coma, but he's still alive, and he's
Yeah.
like, ain't this guy's ancient, so he should be dead, like from a little shock, let alone volts and volts and volts of electricity getting through him.
Right, okay.
But yeah, the grand scheme of the campaign is the German talked his way into someone's basement. We found one of the artifacts we're looking for, and that's the arm of this Sacralum Centaurum or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a creepy statue that causes people to not die.
Okay.
So next we're looking with probably Italy. So the statue was broken up into the head, the two arms, the two legs, and the torso, and spread across Europe in an attempt
Yeah.
to like divert its power. So we found the arm. We think another part was taken into Italy by Napoleon soldiers. So that's our next step on the road. I don't know why we're finding all these bits and putting them back together. It feels like we should be finding the bits individually and destroying them.
Right, okay. But I
But
suppose that's the point of a mystery, isn't it? You're supposed to figure this out along the
yeah,
way.
our mission was to figure out what this statue was doing and destroy it if it's evil. But I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure it's causing this guy to not die, and maybe we should destroy it before putting it back together, before we summon some unholy thing to kill us all. But yeah,
Okay. Man, it sounds like it's a lot more like we were talking about before with the DNS campaign. That one we're not expected to solve any of these mysteries. It's
yeah.
more
So
it was
I
capturing it for
personally
story. So
much prefer it because
yeah,
you kind of feel like you're sat watching a story happen with the GNS one because
yeah,
you're sort of there to record what's happening, not necessarily to like you discover bits, and then once you've discovered enough, you just sort of go, that's enough to make money, and then you sort of let it happen,
Yeah.
which is cool because you get lots of really weird stuff happening, but you don't feel like you're solving a mystery. You feel like you're observing a crime, and I prefer this because it's like we're doing research and learning stuff and collecting things, and it feels like we've got an end goal, which is to do something specific, not just to watch it as it unfolds, which is
Yeah.
nice. I also absolutely love playing a gigantic, fat German with a huge walrus mustache. There's nothing more satisfying than jumping on the Discord and everyone's on there like, oh, we're ready to play, and I'm like, oh, guten Abend, mein Freund, it is me, Heinrich von Uberwurst, and they're like, oh, I forgot, this is going to be awful. But
uh,
Heinrich's some high-level MVP. He goes in, he charms the hell out of people. He's great. He's so
yeah.
friendly. He's made quick friends with our Romanian friend because he thinks nothing of paying for a five-star hotel room for someone he considers a friend, and the Romanian has no money. So,
Oh man, that's really
but
cool.
oh man, it's a fun campaign. I prefer it to GNS one, not because I don't know the time thing's nice. It's a little bit different, but it's mainly because you get a bit more stuck in and the character's more fun. So the GNS character I had was oh dear, that's a
Oh
spoiler.
man.
Um,
Oh no.
Eddie was a bit serious, and I felt like I was trying to do his job, but it was completely at odds with the campaign because it was like find out what's going on, watch it happen, and Eddie is a police officer, so find out what's going on and sort it, and it felt super at odds with anything that I should be doing.
Yeah. Is it?
Thankfully, due to events out of my control, I now have a new character.
I was going to say, do we want to explain like what happened in the GNS campaign?
I don't 100% know because I wasn't there, but I can tell you
Yeah.
that they blew up Reading. Reading's gone. It's a crater.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Daryl will probably elaborate on it more
yeah, I think
the
Daryl will
next time we
definitely
can
be
get
able
him
to
on the
tell us.
podcast.
It
Yeah.
turns out they left Daryl and I think maybe Ree and Chloe in control at the end of the campaign, and that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Oh, and Andy. Andy shot Ree. Um, and then, oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened, but it ended in them blowing up Reading, and that was
I
not
tell you what.
surprising considering the caliber of people we're working with.
Do you think it's worth burning our phone call to Daryl to just quickly
Let
explain what
let's
happened at the
let's
end?
burn our yeah. Let's do that. Let's get our Daryl call in.
Yeah, let's give it a go. I've not actually ever tried doing this before, but hopefully I can get it on loudspeaker. Can you hear that?
I can hear it. Yeah, it's a bit quiet.
Cool.
That's better.
Hello, Daryl. How are you? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hang on. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Ah, you can hear me.
Sorry. It came up with a weird thing saying this call is not secure, so I wonder if you are spying on me.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't rule that out, but, you
Because
know.
of this, it's so far from here to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
Right. Hello, Ian.
Can you
Hi,
actually hear
can
Ian?
you hear me? He definitely
No,
can't hear
but
me.
I just assume he can hear me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear
yeah.
him.
So we
Okay.
can't. Unfortunately, we haven't got a way of hooking this up, so we can. But oh well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what happened in your GNS campaign? We figured this would be a good time to call you.
Okay. Right. So basically, we were investigating this like weird disturbance to do with like death and a dating website, which is kind of interesting. And then what happened after that? Essentially, we all kind of went our little separate ways, and we ended up kind of going to this area where there was a 4G network thing plugged into what looked like H.G. Wells' time machine. Apparently, very weird and crystals coming out of it and all different little weird things. So it was kind of interesting. So we all went there and we all kind of felt a little bit weird and wonderful. And I had some goo that I went to take to the Reading University to get the Sorry, some kids. Yeah, get the Reading University to check out the liquid and see what it was, but it stank. It was disgusting, and I'd gone nose blind, but everyone else did not. So yeah, we got to get that checked out. That looked kind of promising, but they said it would take 10 days. So I have no idea what this goop is. Right. So we then decided that we're going to get GNS to send us like a handyman, a man of all sorts that's like, you know, been used before by them and thought, you know, that's good. So sort of waiting around for him after going nowhere with a security guard, finding that all the shops at this place have been abandoned. Miraculously, for some reason, they'd all been abandoned within sort of a 2-week period when the crime started happening. But everyone just said they were sick or whatever. There was no kind of consensus of what was actually happening, which is kind of cool. So we go in there, we have a little look around. The dude starts freaking out hard. He sees the machine and he's like, that thing's just sucking in energy. That thing's going to blow. And we're like, all right, okay. And I'll get round to after what happened when I asked Phil what would have happened. But anyway, so he's freaking out, and we're all kind of like, just, well, what should we do? What should we do? And he's just like, we'll just try and find something to unplug it. So we're all branching off to go and unplug this thing. Right, so there's me, Ree, Chloe's character, and Andy. Andy wasn't there at the time, but Andy turns up at the worst point, which was even better. So we're all looking for these like plugs to unplug them, and the cables are going everywhere. And then suddenly Andy sort of appears. So we decided that he smashed through the window. Chloe's character Juniper finds what can only be described as like a sort of weird, like liquidy kind of shadow beast thing, I guess, in the control room. It all kicks off. The room gets like kind of smoked out. Some stuff catches on fire. Andy decided to shoot. So basically, Ree's character got kind of like pinned down by this beast. It was tangled around her, and it essentially nearly killed her. It done half damage on her. And then Andy, in his infinite wisdom, tried to shoot it, but obviously because it's mostly made of like a smoggy kind of liquid, the bullet went straight through and killed Ree.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so the way it works, obviously, she isn't dead as long as we can get her to like some medical attention. So obviously, with that, Juniper and I can't remember the name of Andy's character, but yeah, he went off to go and
Raylan.
try and
Raylan,
like,
Ian said.
drag her out. Second.
Ian said Raylan.
Oh, Raylan, yeah, so that was it, sorry, thank you. So yeah, Raylan basically dragging her out, or trying to, but because the whole room is like more or less on fire now, and the liquid barrels have gone all kind of weird, it was really, really, really difficult to see. So I spent 2 combat turns just running through the smoke, because I couldn't do anything, like, sort of just like kind of shocking it. The thing that made me laugh was the guy that we got from GNS to kind of come and fix stuff just jumped out the window and was like, I'm out. It just burst with Buzz. His name was Buzz. He jumped out the window. He's like, "No, I'm done." That was funny. We basically kept messing up dodge rolls. So the reason why Ree got pinned is she tripped over a barrel of the sludge. I tripped over a barrel of the sludge. We got sort of to the point where we were trying to escape, and the creature essentially started trying to do stuff to the machine, and it was getting alarmingly worrying. We had no other choice, so we just got out, ran. Tried to run as far as possible, but the machine exploded, and in a massive boom, took out 10 miles of Reading. So that's including Ian's character, Eddie, who was unfortunately going through a bit of a depressive state, sat in a hotel room.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's possibly your character, depending on, we're never really sure where your character sloped off to. And then the only one that was left was Brian, because we decided it'd be funny if Brian was gone to meet up with this dude to go and find like stakes and like bullets and magical things and stuff to fight the vampires he thought it was, even though now we knew it wasn't. So we came under the conclusion that he was on the outskirts just looking at Reading that was now a mushroom cloud, armed to the teeth like apocalypse style, like ready to go in, like, they're fully vampires. Just like really ridiculous. It was so funny, like... So
what a way to go.
Like, Phil, who was... I know, to be fair, it was amazing. Apparently, though, it would have gone a better way. So because we were all kind of a little bit, like, not really 100% sure what to do, apparently if I... Because I was talking to Buzz, I think it was, if I'd have been a bit more decisive and said, well, can we try and fix it and reverse the polarity, apparently there was a possibility that we could have reversed it, so it was pushing the energy back out. And because I had a kind of interestingly high repair skill or mechanic skill, whatever it was, I think I would have just been able to do it, and we tested the roll at the end to see it. It turned out it was like a hard success or something stupid. So I would have been able to help him. We wouldn't have had to explode, but we probably would have been killed by the beast.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool, and then it turns out that it was weirdly sucking out their fat. I think it was.
Okay.
To power itself. It was so weird, and the livers was something to do with it, but he wasn't 100% sure what the actual significance of that was. But yeah, essentially it was using fat as a battery. So it was using us as batteries, and it could only survive in a person at one at a time. So the way it killed its victim, dressed up as the next one, essentially, killed the next one, and then took that body, and then it was just using every human as a battery, and that's why they were deflated.
Okay.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It was a very cool concept. But so now we've all made new characters, apart from me. I think I've still got one to go. But yeah, it was.
It's good.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing end. To be fair.
Yeah, it does sound like a good way to go. Anyway,
It was so funny.
I won't keep you because I know you can't stay for too long. Thanks for filling us in on that.
I'm actually on break.
I've got one question that I probably should ask you before you go. That is our main topic, which is, would you play a board game competitively for money?
If I ever found a game that I was moderately good at, and I felt like I had a chance, and other people had said, "Oh, you're having a chance," and I'd done a few local tournaments, not for cash, but for prizes and stuff, and I'd sort of won them quite a few times.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go for it just once. If it was, say it was a minimal entry fee, or, say 25 quid, and there was a potential to win 10 grand, and there was runner-up prizes and all that kind of stuff, I think I'd give it a go, only knowing if I was good at it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it would have to be something that I felt confident with. I mean, the only way I could think about a game would be, it'd have to be a card game, even though I'm not that massively good at them, but it would have to be a deck builded.
So you wouldn't play Men at Work for money?
Well, I mean, yeah, to be fair, if that was an option, 100%, yeah. I mean, I feel like that'd be great fun. If there is a MLG game of Men at Work, I feel like I definitely want to have a go at it, whether or not I'm good. But yeah, yeah, I think I'd give it a go just once, only ever once, unless I was greedy and I got really good and I kept winning 10 grand every time.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Daryl. I'll let you get on with your break.
Yeah, I better get back to the Bahamas anyway, guys. Yeah, sorry, I'm live at the Bahamas. I don't know if anyone knew that.
Well, we've already told everyone that you're on the moon again, so...
Yeah, I named the
Bahamas of the moon. That famous crater.
Bahamas of the moon. Yeah, exactly. They didn't actually find it the initial time they went up there, but they found it in a couple of other times, and they've just nicknamed it that. It's got a little pleasure beach. It's Blackpool. Blackpool.
Oh, man. All I'm thinking of is Futurama now.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was thinking. Everyone goes out on those little things to see the tour of the moon.
I'm going to make my own theme park with blackjack and hookers. Oh, God. Anyway, we'll leave you to it. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you soon on one of these podcasts.
Hopefully so. Goodbye, Ian.
He said goodbye.
He says goodbye.
Ian says he loves you.
Say I love him back, even though I can't hear him.
I think he can hear you. I was forgetting that just then. Yeah. So, yeah. Cool. All right. See you later, Daryl.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool.
I didn't
Well, there
realise
we go.
they beansed it as hard as they did. Tripping over barrels when they could have solved the problem.
I love the idea that this kind of translucent figure as well just has a bullet just pass straight through and just kills one of their of their own as well.
It's immediately shoot through. Brilliant.
Cool. Right. I'm going to move on now and talk about Shards of Infinity. Ian, can you remember a couple of weeks ago I talked about a card game called Ascension that was made by a couple of tournament Magic the Gathering players?
I remember you saying it, and I don't remember anything about it because I don't retain information.
Perfect. So I'll explain this game because this game is basically the same thing. It's also made by, I think it's made by one of the two people that made Ascension. So essentially, it's one of these games. If you've ever played a game like Legendary, you have a row of cards that you can buy to put in your deck. You have your hand, you have your deck, and you have your discard pile. The idea is that you use your starter cards, which are identical between two players, to buy cards that are in the center row, and they go into your discard pile, and eventually you get to draw them, and your decks eventually become more and more unique over the course of the game. It's essentially quick version of a deck building game, whereas usually these collectible ones you'd make a deck at home. This one you actually have to make it on the fly. So exactly the same system as Ascension. But you asked the question of Ascension, I remember this. You asked, does it play like Magic the Gathering? At which point I said, no, it doesn't really. Your opponent, you're not attacking your opponent. It's to do with beating monsters that are in the center row. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game basically wins. You had a pool of like 60 points, and that diminished over the course of the game. And when it hit 0, the game was over. Shards of Infinity is almost the same, except this kind of is more like Magic the Gathering. Essentially, both players have a life counter, and you're using your deck to actually attack your opponent rather than having a pool of points and running that down. Apart from that, it plays exactly the same as Ascension, and it has a sci-fi theme to it. There's a lot of cool stuff as well, like you have constructs which can go into play and actually act as permanent cards that just keep working their ability every single turn. And yeah, it's a neat little game. Again, it's one that I've been playing on Steam against the AI and stuff. I'm not really someone that likes to go online and start playing against human opponents quite so much, but
I'd agree with you there. I hate playing against humans, especially if you're like learning something or trying something. It's nice to have something that's going to punish you for making mistakes, but not ruthlessly so.
yeah, I think as well, it's kind of, with any game, it's always hit and miss as to whether the community is going to be welcoming or not. I mean, it's always bad with online games when you get one of two types of communication with people. Either people laughing at you because you're so bad at something, or someone accusing you of cheating because you shouldn't have been able to beat them. I generally tend to find they're the two kinds of messages you usually get from competitive games. I mean, you get some communities where, someone will always say at the end, like, oh, good game, and stuff like that, and that's fine, but it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether you're actually going to get that or not. I don't think there's that much more I can really talk about Shards of Infinity, because it is practically the same game as Ascension. It's just obviously the case of rather than the game being over when a certain number has been diminished, the pool of points has been relegated to 0. Instead, you're purposefully attacking one another. It kind of leaves a few more plays, like you can play defensive cards and stuff like that, to reduce the amount of damage that someone else can do to you. So there is that. But really, I would say after playing both of them, you only really need one of these two games in your life, probably. And it's just down to which one you think you prefer the sound of, really. They're both pretty much perfectly functional games, or as functional as one another. So, you never know. If you enjoy one, you probably will enjoy the other, but they're not different enough, if that makes sense. Ian, I believe you've been playing some Kill Team.
Yeah, I forgot about this
Yeah.
until just as we started the podcast. But I basically set up a Kill Team board and played myself at Kill Team.
Okay.
So I have a Black Templars Kill Team, which is just a Space Marine Kill Team, and I played it against my new Imperial Guard, which that's my lockdown project, was an Elysian drop troop style Imperial Guard regiment. So I've got like 4 Valkyries and stuff. But I thought I would hammer together a quick kill team using them. Turns out,
Yeah.
Space Marines kill stuff, and they kill stuff real quickly.
It's not much of a surprise, is it?
I tried to go pretty hard on myself, like genuinely try and beat myself, but with both parties. I got my Imperial Guard into position quite quickly. but Space Marines are just really strong.
Hmm.
I found myself not wounding the Space Marines at all. I feel like it was a mixture of bad luck, perhaps to some extent, not a particularly well optimized kill team. Whereas my Space Marines were a pretty good kill team because I built them specifically. They're individually made models, not just hand selected from an army. I built them so that I could make a kill team with them.
Hmm.
Yeah, and turns out Flamers will kill an Imperial Guardsman, especially if you clump them up. Found myself just doing stupid things, and yeah, I kind of clean swept. I found it quite interesting as an experience. One, because I'm not a particularly experienced Imperial Guard player. I have played with Chaos for most of my Warhammer 40k lifespan, so I'm used to playing relatively tough power armored models.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting insight into someone playing a not power armored faction and what they'd even have to do to win. Um, I mean, there must like I was outnumbered by a lot, but
Yeah.
I was killing like max number of models a turn, really, for the most part. Um, I had a kill team game with Daryl and Matt ages ago, admittedly,
Yeah.
and we found that Daryl's Eldar was so squidgy, we just stomped them. And then it was Death Guard versus Space Marines, and yeah, I found the Death Guard incredibly hard to wound, and the game only ended because I happened to be on objectives and it went on for so long.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, that there are certain factions. Again, it must be some degree I'm not playing them right, or maybe I'm bad at the game. But I did just find that absolutely stomped the Imperial Guard side of the kill team board. So it was
Yeah.
it was interesting. I found myself a little disappointed afterwards because obviously the Imperial Guard are my new models, which I'm painting up. They're really nice. They're from Mortian. If you go to www.mortian.com, you'll find the models I've used for my Imperial Guard. They're really nice. They're from Deutschland. But
Funnily enough, if you follow our Instagram accounts, we've got pictures of them on there.
you do, yes, you
Yeah.
do. I was using a lot of models that are unpainted for this
Yeah.
as well. So, but I mean, I will tell you, I'm in the middle of painting a heavy weapons team today, by which I mean I've watched 4 episodes of Rick and Morty and started playing Pokemon whilst the paint's dry on my table. But it is on my list of things to do. But yeah, it was fun to get back into dice rolling and setting up a map and playing through. But it was a bit of a shock to find not just surviving all the
Yeah.
shots you get shot at. It's I haven't played Imperial Guard. I think I've played Imperial Guard ages ago. I played with some of my friends, but I wasn't super into the game at the time, so it's sort of a bit of a shock. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to bringing the Valkyries out because when lockdown's down, Daryl's going to unleash his horde of orcs.
Oh,
Um,
he's given up on Eldar then.
his Eldar is his kill team. So he's got
Oh,
his
okay.
orcs for
Right.
his normal army, and I think he's looking at Necrons now because the new Necrons too. But he already has just thousands and thousands of points of orcs.
Yeah.
So that the plan is to do me and Andy versus him because Andy has some Mordian Iron Guards, not to be confused with Mortian, which is the company that make the third-party Imperial Guard Elysian drop troop style models.
I mean, I
So
can't help but think that Daryl's going to get absolutely stomped.
yeah, I mean, I'm not used to using Imperial Guard. Normally, I would stomp Daryl.
Yeah.
Um, but that comes with the territory of having played one army for 15 years and knowing how to use them. And Daryl not really having a particularly firm grasp of uh, any level of intelligence.
I think that's why I was a bit surprised when you said that Daryl was playing as Eldar, because Eldar are very much their key thing is their speed.
Yeah, I mean, he jumped all his Harlequins over a wall and they got gunned down by Slave Marines. I think that's what happened in the end. And I fired a grenade at one of them and insta-killed it. It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
from
it
what
was
I
pretty
remember,
horrendous.
Eldar. Yeah, from what I remember, Eldar, you've really got to have a good sense of how to move your figures around a board. Basically, even though it's vital for almost any army, it's more vital, I think, for Eldar because they are so squishy.
I think the
Um,
problem was he was playing against two factions that have remarkably tough models.
Yeah.
So the Primaris Space Marines have 2 wounds. I know I had a couple that weren't Primaris in there, but most of them were Primaris ones. So they had 2 wounds, toughness 4. They're hard to wound, um, especially with shuriken pistols. And they're okay. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're gunning for Imperial Guardsmen, which will just die to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he closed in quickly enough. He didn't focus enough when we played that time. But
Yeah.
again, I think it comes with knowing how your army functions as well. Like, I've always
Yeah.
played an Iron Warriors army where I can form something of a gun line and almost coax people that aren't. The problem is I do play against people who aren't as experienced as me a lot. So
Mm.
maybe I need to open my horizons and go out and get beaten by a Tau list that's forms of 3 battle suits and a load of drones. But I do find myself playing against Daryl and like talking him through his own decisions as he makes them, and he looks you dead in the eye like, I know what I'm doing, and then I'm like, cool. And walks around a corner into like a group of Overwatch. Like, even when he's playing against other people, I really remember one time where he was like, I know what I'm doing, and he drives his vehicle around the corner, gets overwatched by some Tau, and pretty much everybody dies. And I was just like, just saying, like, yeah, it's unlikely that was going to happen, but you had other options.
The funny thing is, I know I'm already really looking forward to how he's going to respond to this conversation.
He knows I'm right, and I know him and Matt got really salty at one point because I described them as, I think, tactically idiots. Yeah, I mean, both of them have had more playing experience than me in the last 2 years because they play with each other relatively frequently. So,
Yeah.
I mean, since I played them last, there will be an element of improvement. So it's not fair for me to judge their current ability.
Sure.
You happy now, Daryl? It's not fair for me to judge your current ability, but based on past experience, you're a moron.
I'm just kind of happy I got to lead you down that path of conversation.
Yeah,
I totally stirred the pot just then.
I think he likes the idea of just running orcs at a gun line, regardless of the effects, because it's kind of fluffy as well. I think there's part of a decision in his brain where he's like, it is cool to see a huge horde of orcs driving/running at a line and getting gunned down but still moving forward. But he doesn't have enough orcs to justify that tactic when there's like heavy bolters blasting away and things like that. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing to run an entire army at a huge gun line.
Yeah.
Without cover.
Cool. Cool. I've got one last thing to talk about, and it's going to be a very quick thing. I tried the app version of Love Letter. Man, that just... I really just found that I really do not enjoy that as a 2-player game. Like, if you've got 3 or 4 people... I mean, you've played Love Letter before, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so just in case you haven't played it before, it's a really basic game where there's a deck of cards in the center of the table. Every card has a role to it that has a different power. There's different numbers of every one. For example, there's loads of guard cards, which basically have this ability where if you can guess what another player's card is that they have in their hand, they eliminate them from the game. And really, that's the key here. You only ever hold one card in your hand at any point during the game. You get to draw a second one on your turn, and then you have to play one, reducing you down to just one card in your hand again. The whole idea is you have to try and eliminate every other player around the table. And then, last person standing is the winner. It really is as simple as that. And the reason why this really doesn't work as a 2-player game is because how often does it happen when you draw the princess card, and which the princess card is simply the highest valued card in the game. If you're made to discard it at any point during the game, or you purposefully discard it, you lose and you're out. But the second card was the Baron, I think it was, the one where you get to compare your number of your card to someone else's, and whoever has the lowest number goes out. So I was finding it perplexing in a 2-player game how often this scenario came about, meaning the game just starts and just ends straight away. It's so weird. It's like that whole game, that is genuinely just luck that's won you that game, pretty much. And although it can sound like there's a lot of luck to this game, it's actually a game where you're having to make a lot of deduction as to what people are. You can start working out what everyone has based on what cards have been played, because the cards stay face up in the center of the table. So eventually, you narrow down your list of what everyone is, and then you gain a guard card, and you can just wipe someone out. It's a really quick game. Games usually only last about 5 minutes anyway, but it just seems like, yeah, you need 3 people at least to really enjoy this one. I would never play it as a 2-player game, I don't think, again. But yeah, you can set up bots as well to play this game and just play it that way. I found it a bit easy though. I was finding I didn't lose very often, but hey, maybe that's just me getting lucky, perhaps. I don't know. I think that's everything with what we've been playing. I don't think you've got any more, because I haven't.
No, I don't think I've been playing anything else.
Okay,
I've not had a huge amount of time, so with work coming back.
Yeah,
So.
I'm starting to get that way as well now, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move on to some news. And okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is I've got a couple of Kickstarters to talk about. I'll mention the first one. Is Terraforming Mars has a new Kickstarter for everything.
Cool.
It's literally all of the expansions. You can buy the base game, all of it in one big lot, and you can also get a big box for it as well. It also comes with 3D terrain in it. So, in other words, it's just one of these things where you can have a really aesthetically pleasing map of Mars by the end of the game as you're putting all these 3D models on. The Kickstarter is going to be... Hang on, sorry, we record this on a Tuesday. Friday, there's going to be about a week left on it at the time of this podcast going out. So I will have links in the description below. But it's a really nice campaign. They've actually split it up so that you can buy the parts that you want via the Kickstarter. So it's a really kind of deluxe version of this game. I mean, if you've never heard of Terraforming Mars before, it's an engine building game where you kind of have to work semi-cooperatively, but at the same time, it is a competitive game. There's certain things like you are all kind of working to successfully terraform Mars, but at the same time, you're all representing different companies, so it's within your interest to get the most money. So you will do things that probably will negatively impact the planet, like you can force... I remember the game I played of it with Andy, there was the whole thing of forcing a meteor to crash into Mars and stuff like that. Lots of really cool stuff like that. It looks like it comes with lots of really useful kind of organizers as well for it. So if you're a fan of Terraforming Mars, this looks like it will be right up your alley, because you can actually just buy the box with all the 3D terrain in as well. So in other words, if you already have everything for this game, you can buy it as a storage solution and have all the nice little aesthetic touches that this new big box brings. Yep, so that is the Terraforming Mars Kickstarter.
Pretty cool. So it's $139 for the big box of absolutely everything in it.
Yeah, which is incredible value, really, because
considering how much stuff and how many expansions. So you get Colonies, Venus Next, Hellas and Elysium, the Prelude, Turmoil, and base game Terraforming Mars, and the storage stuff for it, you said, as well?
Yep.
So
yep,
that's
the whole lot.
Pretty good.
It's incredible value. If you've played Terraforming Mars and want to get on board with it, this is ideal. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. I don't think everyone necessarily has that money to hand to actually be able to spend on this thing, but it's incredible value is the thing, and that's the difference. It's a lot of money, but the value is fantastic.
I mean, you can, if you are new to Terraforming Mars and you don't want to hammer that sort of money down, there is like a $34 one, which is It's got turmoil in, isn't it?
Yes.
The new
Yeah.
that's the newest bit, I guess. One of the newer
Yeah,
bits. One of the
I
expansions for
believe
it.
so. But
And
even
for
that,
$79, which in post-Brexit British money is roughly 80 quid, you can get the Terraforming Mars and Turmoil together, which is relatively good value for the game it is. And I mean, I've seen it. I've not played it, but I know that the pieces are relatively good quality as well. So
yeah, I know me and Andy were. It was so close to when we played it. We said we wanted to play it with more people, but I don't think the chance has really presented itself. And it probably won't present itself for a little while yet, but we'll see. Everything seems to be opening up, so you never know. Whether we should be is a completely different matter, though. Ian, I believe you have some Warhammer releases to talk about.
yeah, I'm gonna just go over this pretty briefly because I mean, didn't get a huge amount of positive vibes unless you're talking about the Necron releases, in which case they did. Um, Basically, GW sort of did a more streamlined one by one shot of all the new models that they're planning to release for the new edition. So that includes
Yeah,
stuff like Space Marine Bikers, which we did get a glimpse of before, but they're sort of confirmed. They look kind of cool. Bikes look very cool. Um, Decent effort. Obviously, we've discussed already the new starter box set, which means you'll get the Space Marines with the cool robes and the shields and swords. They look pretty cool. And obviously, all the new Necron stuff looks cool. The new destroyers look amazing. Stuff like that. I think I want to say highlight,
yeah,
but not highlight. Um, the bit that got the most attention was uh, the ugliest monstrosity I've ever seen, which
oh
is the
god,
weird Space Marine quad bike where the driver can't stand up without banging his head. And
what?
it's, I'll find a picture for you to send to you so you can post it if you want. Um,
Okay,
I'll try and be more positive and get some of the photos of the other stuff as well. So there's like what's the best way? Like War of the Worlds-esque Necron Walker, which looks super cool. Um,
yeah,
that looks really nice, really fits the theme. I like they're sort of coming away gently from the Egyptian theme they went in really heavily on last time.
mm,
Um, I like the idea of the dynasties. They kind of lent on it really hard. The sort of almost Tomb World style aesthetic, which then they've lent off. I think they've got just the right amount. It's got like the scripture and stuff like that, but not the full headdress and things like that, which you'll get on a few characters, but I think that's all right. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, some of the new Necron stuff are really cool. The new warriors obviously look very cool. Again, I'll get pictures up and Steve can pop them up, I guess, as this happens, maybe.
I will display them as needed.
Oh yeah, look at that one. Yeah.
Yeah, really
Oh
nice.
yeah, that's a nice one.
That's
Um,
my favourite right there.
oh, do you know what? This is my favorite. You ready?
Yeah.
That one.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That,
That was a close second.
yeah. I like that I've made that so difficult for you because you've got to time that perfectly.
Oh well. I will
But
just say I've typed in Space Marine quad bike
oh
into
god,
Google
it's so
Images.
bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's loads of really, really good ones. It's literally I can't tell which one's the new one
Right,
because,
hang on. Quad bike.
but there's actually a lot of these. Like there's lots of two person ones and things like that that actually look really cool.
Yeah, so there's some fairly nice looking fan ones actually.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like the idea of quad bikes for a Space Marine army. I don't think it fits well.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's more of an orc thing, really, wouldn't you say?
do you know what? I think that is what's been said almost 100%. Everyone's been going, "Oh, that's ugly. Be great for some orc conversion, though." This is the real one. Please look at that and vomit.
Oh
I've just
my
sent it.
god,
It's
that's
so bad.
they,
Ah,
it doesn't even really look like a quad bike.
no, it's sort of like a dune buggy assault vehicle thing. I think it's called the
I'm
Invader ATV.
I'm
But
genuinely thinking that it looks like what they've done is cut off the top of a tank and then put some wheels on because we all know wheels work really well with tanks.
do you know what super frustrates me about this? This vehicle looks like it would fulfill a similar role to the land speeder.
Yes, yeah.
why wouldn't you just have, like, if they wanted, because at this point we're well aware that GW is leaving the old Space Marines behind. The
Okay.
old Adeptus Astartes with their normal superhuman powers are being left behind in favour of the slightly taller, newer, better versions.
Yeah.
Fine, I get that, and they've got to update all the models as they go. It, what they could have done is not make it part of the lore and do it as a slow release and
Yeah.
just a slow reboot of the range. But I think they want to do an even slower reboot of the range and make it part of the lore and gently convert everything. Personally, I think they should have done a hard reboot and gone, Space Marines are taller now, size creep sort of happened, these are the updated models, live with it. They
Yeah.
can't really do that because of
Yeah.
the Horus Heresy stuff still smaller and they kind of beans that. But as part of that, they've made a few things that I think are super irrelevant. The new Space Marine tank, I don't like, but I understand its necessity. They're sort of easing out the Predator. But what frustrates me the most is they could have just converted a new style of land speeder.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
suppose so.
I don't see why that would have been a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the ATV is there to achieve, other than a big gun that moves at the same speed as the bikes.
Mm.
Do White Scars players really want that ugly piece of garbage in their army? I wouldn't, personally.
Yeah.
I guess that's my opinion. I feel like they've gone about it the wrong way. And the elements of this new release look great. So the guys with the swords and shields, whose name I forget, they look super cool. And it's like Vanguard veteran style armor, but in the taller Space Marines. Um, I'm sure there'll be plenty of Black Templars players looking at that thinking, "Whoa, they look knightly."
Yeah.
Dark Angels as well probably get a big fistful of that. Um, but I think if we're easing out stuff like the old Terminators and Mark 4, 5 armors and stuff like that, the old Assault Marines, just do it properly.
Yeah.
This is meant to
Okay.
be a short thing of me going, "This is annoying. Look at these, ha ha ha," and it's turned into me getting irritated at the state of GW again.
Quad bikes.
Yeah, I mean they've got the Primaris Impulsor, which is like sort of like a light tank with repulsor lift, so it's like a hover tank sort of thing. It's a cool
Yeah.
idea. It's a transport vehicle for Space Marines. It's basically their Rhino now. It's kind of cool looking. I like it. I don't hate it at all. It's a nice idea. I prefer tanks with tracks because that's just a personal preference thing. But
Yeah. I
I
prefer it
like.
as well.
It's kind of cool. I'm okay with it. I can live with that one. It doesn't look super ugly. It kind of fits the new aesthetic, so I can live with it. Why have we got quad bikes and wheels and stuff if we're working with repulsor lift technology then?
It's because Space Marines have to have everything, Ian.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I think they've tried to take Chaos and Space Marines down different directions recently because if they make all the Space Marines taller and give them a whole load of new kit, there's no real reason that Chaos would get a lot of that kit. So they've gone
Yeah.
down there. Chaos are really running out of all these rhinos and stuff, so check out the new crazy demon engines, which I love personally. I think that's a really cool aesthetic. And I understand that the Space Marines are going their own direction. I just think do a hard reboot, for goodness sake. You could have done it with Chaos at the same time and made them the same height, and it wouldn't have upset anyone. But I
I'm
suppose
surprised they haven't ever, because they've never done a hard reboot, have they, of the Warhammer 40k lore?
not really. No.
No.
I think the problem is a lot of us, I'm going to say us, are sort of pretty attached nerds that will kick off if the thing they like about the genre has changed. Exhibit A
Yeah.
being the rant I just had about how they changed it in a way I didn't like. So they're never going to please everyone. I just happen to be on the losing side of this isn't something I'm particularly fond of this time.
Yeah.
But, oh well. Yeah, there's some ugly models, there's some cool models. I'll post some of the highlights. Well, I'll send you some of the highlights so that you can post that. But
I will do. There's one more for you.
oh,
Okay.
one more what?
On screen right now.
What?
All right. The picture.
Oh.
You're sending me the pictures.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I was just making I was just making life harder for me again.
I forgot about that joke.
In the edit.
Yeah, there we go. Look at him.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about one last Kickstarter. That is a game called the Dead Eye which I came across. I thought it looked kind of unique. It's very gimmicky. It's a story-driven game where you're basically trying to escape a planet using deck building and playing cards. It's a solo adventure, and there's an element of push your luck to it, so that's kind of cool. But the real gimmick here is that it's in 3D. So they provide you with a little pair of glasses, and yeah, you get to see everything pop off the page as it's going. Looks kind of like a neat idea. It looks a bit Fallout-ish, in terms of there's a lot of things like you're wearing a rad suit and stuff like that, so radiation is obviously going to be an issue on there. Lots of robots and stuff like that. Very steampunkish. Looks really cool.
I like steampunk, I like robots, I like escaping planets.
Yeah. It's got a neat little 12-page prelude comic that comes with the Kickstarter as well that looks really neat.
I like comics as well. That sounds good.
Yeah. It sounds as if it could be a little like that Judge Dredd game that we quite enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
The Cursed Earth one, the one where you were laying out cards basically as you were going. Except this
I
one
like Cursed Earth. It's hideously punishing though.
It is hideously punishing, but I definitely enjoy playing that with where you get a group of people together. And to be honest, I found like the discussion periods in that game really, really interesting because like we were really having to
there were points
voice
where
what
we were
we
like,
could and couldn't
do we do this because this will happen? And
Yeah.
there was a great deal of discussion going into whether we should do the thing that's going to beans it for everyone, or whether we should do the other thing that's going to beans it for everyone.
Oh, it's just when you always get to those conversations of, right, do we kill Giant here so that we have it? It's just like these really morbid decisions that are just, man, I love it. I hope this is very much along the same sort of lines as that. Definitely looks very cool. They've already hit their target. In fact, they doubled it. They were asking £8,000 and they are at 16,000. So well done, guys. It's probably worth noting as well, because we didn't mention it with the Terraforming Mars one. They have raised over $1 million for the Terraforming Mars one. Doesn't really surprise me because that game is very much loved.
It's
Right then.
a super popular game. So
It really is. And I think it's quite deserving of it as well. We really enjoyed playing that when we did. Right. We have no audience question this week. So if you would like to send one to us, send it to mailbag@everybodydice.com. You can also tweet them at us or something like that, and we'll answer them on this very podcast, which would usually go around about here. So, are you ready for this week's big topic?
Yes.
Good. So every 2 weeks, we ask our patrons. We give them a choice of about 3 different topics as to which one they'd like to hear us talk about on the podcast. If you'd like to become a patron yourself, you can do for as little as $1, and you get access to this little feature here at patreon.com/everybodydice. The 3 choices this week were: what are the advantages of playing board games digitally? Would you play board games competitively for money? Or what is your favourite number of players to play a board game with? And you could probably already tell by the title of this video, the winner was: would you play board games competitively for money? Would you?
If someone was willing to pay me to play board games, I would have to think long and hard about the moral aspect of whether I should be taking advantage of that person.
So when Daryl agreed earlier that Men at Work would be one that he'd be willing to play for money,
I feel like I could beat Daryl at Men at Work.
You could beat all of us at Men at Work.
And you shouldn't be paying Daryl to play Men at Work.
Realistically.
Realistically.
You're not paying him to play Men at Work, are you? You're taking his money from him, I imagine.
Right, I see. So is this us betting against each other when we play?
I read this as this is a
that they were a
gamble.
private company hiring us to play on their behalf, like a
Well,
football
yeah, I
club.
suppose, yeah, it's 2 different things. You would have to be remarkably good to be sponsored to play a game. I think Do poker players get sponsored?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine it's already happening in the
I don't think anyone
realm
is
of
sponsoring me
gaming.
to play like Warhammer 40k at a tournament level.
What
That,
about
that,
Crocodile?
yeah. So I was about to bring this up because I genuinely think
Yeah.
I'm good at Crocodile, like
Yeah.
actually good at Crocodile. And
Yep.
there's a part of my brain that's thinking, do you know what? I am actually really good at that, but I just have this feeling I'd go tournament level and someone would just rinse me.
But I mean,
There's always a bigger fish.
if someone saw you playing Crocodile and said, "We want to sponsor you," you would?
Well, hang on. What's the downside for me in that situation?
Well, I imagine they lose faith in you and just drop you eventually, but you would have made money by that point, right?
Surely there's a contract involved, right?
Yeah, surely.
Yes, I would take time off of my job to play Crocodile whilst they pay me to do so.
Yep.
I honestly don't think there's a downside to this other than job hunting when I'm done because there's no way they'll keep me on.
What about if we...
Do you know what the main issue about this for me in my head is that there's probably a clause in the contract somewhere that I can't say something super controversial, and I legitimately cannot help myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is the point where I'd be in trouble, where I'm talking about Brexit or something stupid like that, and yeah, that's where I would I'd lose my contract.
To be perfectly honest with you, in almost any situation, even if I knew I was going to be bad at something and someone actually said, "We want to pay you to play this game," I'm going to say yes every single time, I think.
Okay, so in the situation of where we're contractually obliged to play Crocodile 40k, whatever we're good at,
Yeah.
for money, let's
Yeah.
say we're given a 3-year contract like a professional footballer, and it's you wear our shirt and you play this game. Yes,
The idea
we're
is,
always saying yes at that point.
yes, exactly. I mean,
However,
what? Your commitment is you're going to have to practice playing that game, and that's it,
I ain't got a
right?
problem with that. I ain't got a
Yeah.
problem with that at all. If it's Crocodile, I really like it, and I'm already half decent at it, so yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got enough patience to play 40k professionally, but I mean, if someone's going to pay me to do it, it's still better than what I do at the minute. So,
That's it, yeah.
does your hobby become your job at that point and you begin to hate it? That's the thing.
Yeah, that is the issue. I mean, if it's a very specific game, then I feel like you could still enjoy the hobby. You just end up eventually hating that game, I imagine.
Yeah, potentially. On the other point of view, though, if you said to me, Ian, you have to put down 30 quid, and Daryl puts down 30 quid, and the winner gets 60 quid,
Yeah,
or 30 quid more than they had initially,
yeah.
and you got to play Daryl at Crocodile, I would ask how many times you would like me to play Daryl at Crocodile,
Right.
because I could do with more than 30 quid, is what I'm saying. I could beat Daryl as many
Right.
times as you want me to.
So in other words, you want to rinse Daryl, basically.
Well, this is it. Is Daryl really willing to put 30 quid forward for me to beat him at Crocodile? Because that's not cool. He is my friend at the end of the day. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
bankrupt him.
I mean, the thing is like, you're technically playing competitively for money, even if everyone says, yeah, 50p into the coffers. Whoever wins takes the pot, basically. I mean, I'd be willing to do it for, like, small stakes.
Right, okay.
Like,
So
if
let's
everyone
put
threw in
it
a
on
quid
this
or
point of
something.
view. So something I didn't think about until just now is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is I'm betting amongst my friends to play it. Would I go
Yeah.
into a tournament scene, pay 100, 200 quid, whatever, for like a entry, and then
Yeah.
bet to win against a stranger I don't know? No.
No, neither would
There's
I.
no games that I'm good enough at to justify that. I did enter Pokemon tournaments when I was younger, the TCG.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I beat a couple of people here and there.
Mm.
I did not do super well.
Yeah, I did much the same with one
I know
Magic the Gathering
someone
tournament.
in my friendship group that's better than me at Pokemon TCG, and I
Yeah.
thought I was quite good at Pokemon TCG, and I'm just not. I'm just like probably above average. You know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. That I don't think there's any game that I play that I'm so good at that I'd be willing to bet myself to win against a stranger.
Mm.
The difference of Crocodile's the one that stands out for me actually weirdly because I know I'm quite good at it,
Yeah.
but I just
I
don't.
definitely think
I don't think I could beat a stranger. Like, I can't guarantee I'd beat a stranger at it. You know?
I think if there was one night where everyone just said, right, we'll just put a quid in every time we play at Crokinole, I'd be willing to do that maybe once or twice
If
in a
it's
year
our
or something like
if
that,
it's our friendship group, I'd be willing to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah,
Because you said Sean was pretty good, didn't you?
yeah. He's not bad.
Yeah.
I would say he's better than me, and
Yeah. So like, I beat you
and
fairly. I don't think you've beaten me actually.
yeah, I have.
Oh, have
I've
you?
beaten you twice.
Daryl hasn't beaten me then. One of you hasn't
Daryl's
beaten me.
never beaten. Daryl's never beaten you, and Daryl has beaten me.
Right.
So yeah, I will say it's out of. I've probably played you a good maybe 15 times and only won two, I
Yeah.
think. And when I usually lose, it's usually pretty convincingly. I just had a couple of good games, I think.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because we don't know for sure what the parameters are.
Yeah,
So we're defining our own parameters. But I mean, no. It's a short answer. If I'm being contractually obliged to play a game and my performance, I would try my hardest, but like my performance doesn't affect the pay I get.
yeah,
Yes, I would take a guaranteed salary to play games.
yeah,
Would I bet my own money that I'm better than somebody else? No, I would
yeah,
not. I'm, as a standard rule, relatively bad at games.
yeah. I mean, I will say I have kind of played board games for money before,
Oh God, yeah.
and this was a one-off incident. We basically did a board gaming getaway to France and took a whole load of board games with us, and there was a lot of drink involved. I think we were pretty much drinking constantly over the whole weekend, and we played Lords of Waterdeep one night, and there's a point where you gain an extra worker in the game. It's about the midway point in the game, and I was so far behind in this game of Lords of Waterdeep that I piped up and stupidly said, "If I was to win this game, I will buy everyone lunch the next day." Thinking I am so far behind everyone that it's just not possible. I think Pete, my friend Pete, I was fairly close to him. And I will admit, I'm pretty sure Matt and John took their foot off the gas a bit when I said that. And Pete still played like he wanted to win, basically. But yeah, I managed to win. I ended up having to buy everyone lunch the next day. We actually ended up like going off and having mussels and stuff like that. So it was by no means a cheap lunch. But honestly, I kind of like I don't regret that it happened, but at the same time I know to keep my mouth shut about that kind of stuff next time. It wasn't really the same sort
You've
of thing
learned
as
your
this, but
lesson.
I've learnt my lesson. But honestly, I don't mind. It was kind of fun to have that kind of experience of holy shit, what the fuck have I just done kind of thing. Oh god, yeah, that was something. Anyway, on that, if you would like to follow us on the social medias, you can on Twitter at Everybody Dice and on Instagram at Everybody Dice Show. If you want to check out Ian's Imperial Guard unit, they are part of our Instagram account. We also have a Facebook page you can find at facebook.com/Everybody Dice. And if you really enjoy what we do and want to slide us $1 or two, you can head over to patreon.com/Everybody Dice and become a patron. You can gain access to such stuff as our monthly board game review, which is currently kind of suspended, but the ones which are going to win will be done in the future. And also you get to basically choose which topic you'd like us to cover on this very podcast. Apart from that, if you want to find all of our stuff in one place, you can find them at everybodydice.com. And please do remember to give this a like, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you on the next one. Till next time, bye.
Bye, 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 bye.